Hey, welcome. I'm Alec, and I'm here at Rancho del Oso in Big Basin Redwood State Park in Santa Cruz, California. So as we're waiting for more people to come on this broadcast, I'm just going to kill a little bit of time, so bear with me. Some of you may be familiar with Santa Cruz. Some of you may have been to Santa Cruz before. Awesome. But for those of you who have not, I just want to show you on a map where I am currently. Okay. So this is a map of the Golden State of California. It might be appearing backwards to you right now. If so, I apologize. But some of the major landmarks that I pointed out going from south to north. I am from the southern edge of the state. This is San Diego at the very bottom, bordering Mexico. We have LA a little bit higher, San Francisco at SF, and then that X right there is Rancho del Oso. That's where I am right now. So this is California State Parks, and this is a Junior Rangers program. This is the first of 3 Junior Rangers programs that Rancho del Oso I will be doing. So this one is, of course, on owls. So I'm assuming if you're here, you have some interest in learning about owls. Our second program, which is going to be coming up in a few weeks, is about snakes. You'll meet our friend Bandit, the snake. She's very, very friendly. And if our other snakes are feeling like they want to be in the spotlight too, then we might introduce them as well. And then in about 4 weeks, we're going to have another program. And that program is on the animal for which this place is named. So Rancho del Oso, for those of you who are familiar to some degree with the Spanish language, then you might know what that animal is. And if you don't, then just hang on and come back in 4 weeks. And then we'll talk about that animal. And then you'll be surprised even better. So while we wait, we're going to do a little practice with Zoom tools. Zoom is the application that you're using. So I just want to see people practice raising their hand, but not yet. Don't raise your hand quite yet. I want you to raise your hand if you've eaten a delicious breakfast this morning. Raise your hand if you've eaten a delicious. Okay, nice. Okay, delicious breakfast. Raise your hand if you ate a boring breakfast. Okay, delicious breakfast in my mind is like an egg sandwich or like bacon pancakes. Boring breakfast in my book, oatmeal, grits. My favorite. Okay, so we got a couple who ate a boring breakfast. That's cool as long as you got food in your bellies. It's chill. Raise your hand if you drank your coffee this morning. Wow. Okay. We have a few people who have drank their coffee. It's a little bit surprising considering most of you are 7 to 12 years old. But hey, I don't judge. If it's decaf, do your thing. That's cool. Raise your hand if you've exercised this morning. Got some movement in to your day. Okay. Nice. About some of you. We're mostly couch potatoes. It's early. I don't really like to move around too much when it's early. Raise your hand if you think owls are cool. Hey, there we go. There we go. Nice. Yes, that's why you're here, because you think owls are cool. Okay, now I want to have us practice talking in the Q&A box. Okay, so at the bottom of your screen, whether you're on your mobile device or a desktop, there should be a Q&A box. So I want you to practice putting something in the Q&A box, but don't do it yet. Okay, I want you to write a question, ask me a question about like some of my favorite things. So like my favorite color or my favorite animal or my favorite planet in the solar system, something like that. I'm going to bring up the Q&A. Let's see. Okay. Good morning from Edith. Good morning, Edith. From Allison, we're in Illinois, so we're having lunch. That's right. People are coming up from other states. Well, I hope you're having a delicious lunch. All right. Anyone want to ask a question? What is my favorite owl? Also, I didn't have breakfast. Okay. Well, sometimes people aren't hungry in the morning. That's cool. My favorite owl is, you can look this up after. It's called the golden eagle owl. And that sounds weird because you're probably like, what, you're talking about an eagle? No, golden eagle owl. You can look it up. It's pretty majestic. Okay, what do I like to do the most? I like to hike. I love to hike. And someone asked, what's my favorite hike? My favorite hike actually is here at this park. And that's the Skyline to the Sea hike. It goes 30 miles from the mountains, skyline, to the ocean, to the sea. And you can do it in one day, or you can do it in 4 or 2 or 3, however many days you want to do it. And it's a really, really cool hike because you go through a lot of different habitats, see a lot of different animals. And my favorite plant? My favorite plant is a cherry tree because cherries are my favorite fruit. Boom, 2 in 1. What's my favorite type of shoe? Vans. What else is there? Why did I choose to work here? I chose to work here because it is a pretty sweet job. It is a pretty sweet job. I'll go more into that later. What's my favorite animal? Turtle. Favorite snake? King snake, which we have here. Oh man, people asking a lot of, okay. All right. You guys ask so many great questions, and we're gonna go off that energy because this is gonna be as interactive as possible. You are going to be asking a lot of questions. But before we begin, I'm gonna say one joke about owls, okay? It's okay, you can tell me how I'm doing at the end. Raise your hand if you think it's a good joke, and you can just keep your hand down if you think it's a bad one. Okay, some of you might know this if you are familiar with California as a whole. Owls that commit crimes, where do they get sent to as punishment? Owls who commit crimes, where do they go when they're punished? Where's like owl prison? Alcatraz. Oh, too good, too good. Okay, thank you. Thanks very much. Appreciate it. All right, so we're going to begin now. My name is Alec. I work in California state parks. And I'm an interpreter, or some of you might know as ranger. And you're here for the Junior Rangers program. This is one of 3 at Rancho del Oso, again. So we'll have one on snakes in a couple weeks. You'll get to meet our king snake bandit, possibly our other snakes. And then in 4 weeks, we're going to have a program for which this place is named Rancho del Oso. Some of you know. So Rancho del Oso is part of Big Basin Redwoods State Park. I'm in the oldest state park in California. Pretty sweet. In fact, it's so old that they just called it, when it first opened, California Redwood Park, because this place is famous for its redwoods. So it's also the traditional and contemporary home of the Koroste and Katoni peoples. It's native groups of people who have been here for at least 10,000 years. So those people tended the land, and they still tend the land, and it really is their land. They've taken care of it for very long. This place is known for redwoods, of course, banana slugs, hiking, super beautiful views, and our awesome interpreters. Just kidding, but not. Big Basin has kind of 2 parts, the mountains and the coast. So I'm at the coast. Rancho del Oso is the coast. And Big Basin headquarters is where all the mountains are. And like I said before, my favorite hike, the Skyline to the Sea, you can walk from the mountains to the sea and you can connect the dots. So it's really kind of nice here right now. There's an ocean breeze, actually more of an ocean wind. It's kind of blowing strong. It's about 65 degrees, little sunny. I was planning on being outside, but it was too bright and too windy. So the video quality would have been poor, which is why I'm in here, my visitor center. The visitor center is closed currently. The Nature and History Center is closed because of COVID. What else? And the park is still open. So you can come and hike, bike, horseback ride. There's a beach you can go to as well. As long as you come during normal park hours and you social distance, you're welcome to come here. So today's program is on owls. You will earn a digital stamp saying you were here if and only if you stay for the majority of the program. Because if this was a real life situation and you were to walk off in the middle of the program, you wouldn't receive your badge at the end. So you have to stay for the majority of the program. And believe me, you're going to want to stay. We have a lot of good things for you today, folks. So I will email people their digital stamps if they stay for the majority of the time. That's how you get a stamp. The program will be about half an hour, 30 minutes or so. Aim to get out in less amount of time because I know y'all are busy. You got things to do, but you also want to learn about owls, which is sweet. So in a typical junior ranger program, we're probably gathering up at the visitor center, going for a hike, moving around, playing games, and that's the kind of thing that I like to do, and I'm sure that you probably prefer to do. But instead, because I'm coming to you virtually from wherever you are, whether that's your home or your friend's house or whatever, I'm going to ask you to use this a lot today. Okay, so we're going to have to really explore, use our imaginations, and think. The most important quality of the junior ranger is to be curious. Now, raise your hand if you've ever heard of Curious George. He's my main monkey. Nice. So Curious George, if you're familiar with him, you probably know how he got his name. He's a monkey who's had a lot of life experiences, more than your average monkey. Curious George got his name because he wonders. He wonders a lot. He was always going on adventures and getting himself into trouble. He's figuring out nature's mysteries, like how water flows, how birds fly, how waves break, how nature works. So during this junior ranger session, I want you to practice being curious, like Curious George. Ask questions, wonder, examine, make observations. Okay, so that's what the first thing we're going to do. Our first activity, we're going to use our tool of vision to make observations about my friend Ernie. I'm about to show you my friend Ernie, but you got to promise to do these things, all right? If you're with someone else watching, or if you're just by yourself, I want you to point out things that you notice, okay? And I want you to write them in the Q&A box, okay? And you're going to need to write this down in the Q&A box because we're going to use what you wrote for the next part of our activity. So write it in, all the things that you notice. It helps to be interactive during this Junior Rangers program virtually because that way we can have more fun and I can better help you out with what you're curious about. So I want you to use the phrase, I see that, or I notice that. And you can notice and see things about color, shape, texture, features. So for instance, you could say, for me, I notice that Alec has black hair. I notice that Alec likes to use his hands when he talks. Stuff like that, except you're going to be doing it on my friend Ernie, okay? So I'm going to move you over to Ernie, and I want you to type in the Q&A box the things that you are noticing, either with the person you're with or just by yourself. Everyone say hello to Ernie. Ernie, where are your manners? Oh, hello. How are you doing today? Okay, so Ernie he's going to do a quick 360. He's a model. He's an owl model. And I want you to write things in the Q&A box that you notice. Ernie has big eyes, says Amanda. That's true. Mm-hmm. That's a very good observation. Yep. Marcel also says, I see that his eyes are very big. Okay. Remember, color, shape, texture, size, hand for scale. Gonna get the backside of Ernie. Okay, so it looks like Ute says, I see that it is not real. Well, Ute, you are correct in that Ernie is not currently alive. He was an owl that lived a long life, but now he gets to educate people like y'all. He is real, though. Very real. Okay, Dan says, I noticed that he has brown feathers. That's correct, Dan. Okay, Kimberly says, I noticed his head is turned a little from his body, not straight. That's true. Okay, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your name. You can let me know, but it looks like Juna says, I noticed that he has a lot of feathers. True. Phoenix says, I noticed that he is fake. Okay, again, he is real, but he's just not alive anymore. Ooh, anonymous attendee says, I see his beak is sharp. Anonymous attendee, that's a very good observation. Ernie does have a very sharp beak. He also has some other sharp things as well. Allison says, I notice he has orange eyes. Okay. Cyrus, he's the color brown. Big eyes. Okay. Mary says stripes. Kind of has the same pattern as her tabby cat. That's a very good observation, Mary. Look at those stripes. Very good observation. Okay, Amanda says, I notice Ernie has different kind of feathers. Michelle, sharp talons. Oh, wow. Michelle, you're so knowledgeable. Yes, these things we call talons. Very, very sharp. Good job. Emma, I notice that he is mostly brown and white. Okay, Lucia, I notice he is very fluffy. Yes, Ernie, very fluff. Denise, I notice Ernie has bark-like looking wings. Yes, you are so right. Allison says Ernie has wings. That's correct. That's a good observation. Ernie has wings. Madeline says he looks soft. Okay, Kimberly says, oh, this one's interesting. I noticed that one ear is up more than the other. So it looks like this one is up more than the other. Good one. Eva says, I noticed that he is pretty big. Yeah, he's no small chickadee. He's a big bird. These are such great observations. Wow, you all are awesome. Okay, so that was the first part of our activity. And you all nailed it. Nice. So now this next part of the activity, I want you to point out things that you are curious about. Okay, so an example for what I was saying about me, the things that you notice, like Alec has black hair. Alec likes to use his hands. Sorry, the phone's ringing. I'll let it go to voicemail. I want you to point out things that you're curious about and write it in the Q&A box. Okay, so such as I'm curious about, what Alec's heritage is, or I'm curious if Alec has family members who use their hands too. Okay, so now I want you to take the things that you noticed. So some of you pointed out Ernie's color, or Ernie's sharp beak, or sharp talons, or Ernie's stripes, okay, or Ernie's big eyes. And I want you to turn that from a statement of I notice into a statement of I'm curious about. So asking a question about the thing that you just observed. Okay, so one such example about this is I am curious about why Ernie needs such a sharp beak. I'm curious about what Ernie eats, because that's a good example of being curious about something. All right, so it's your turn, and I want you to start writing things that you're curious about using your observations, the things that you're noticing. All right, this one takes a little more thought. Kimberly says, I'm curious about why Ernie has a curved beak. It's a very good thing to be curious about. Okay. Michelle says, I'm curious about how far he can turn his head. It's also really, really great. And we're actually Michelle, we're going to cover that pretty soon. Reese says, I'm curious about why their eyes don't move. Okay. You says, why does he have white and brown feathers? What's the need for all that? Lucia says, why are his eyes so big? Oh, Denise, you have a mother and an owlet in your backyard. That's so cool. Denise also says, I wonder what he looked like when he was an owlet. Juna says, I'm curious about why his eyes are yellow. Great question. Lucia, I'm curious why he has so many brown feathers. Mary says, I'm curious about why there is no light tan or white, assuming in the feathers. Michelle says, I'm curious what Ernie uses his beak and talons to eat. Dan says the same. Ute says the same. Eva says, I'm curious if his wings were used for camouflage. Oh, I think you're onto something, Eva. I'm curious if he is big because he can eat a lot. Okay, Marcel says, I'm curious about why his pupils are so big. Anonymous attendee says, I'm curious about why he is out right now during the daytime. Excellent question. Oh, anonymous attendee says, I'm curious where his ears are. Y'all are asking such great things. Mary says, I'm curious about if he has night vision. These are such great things to be curious about. I love it. Okay. So we're going to try to collectively answer a lot of those questions together. Okay. So I want you to use the Q&A to put in a guess about something that I'm going to say. And the rule is you can't use Google. Okay. So, and you can't ask your friends or your family or anyone around you. You can't use the internet to look these things up. Okay. We're going to say true or false using some of the explanations. So, true or false? Ernie has a sharp beak and sharp talons because Ernie likes to eat vegetables. True or false? Ernie has sharp beak and sharp talons because he likes to eat vegetables. Okay. Lucia says false. Denise says false. Ute says false. Brody says false. Dan says false. 18 exclamation marks. Emma says false. Okay. You all are smart. You get it. Ernie has a sharp beak and sharp talons because Ernie likes to eat. Ernie's a carnivore. Okay. Ernie likes to eat small rodents. So you have like mice, rats, voles. Okay. Might go after a small bunny, other birds. But Ernie is a meat eater. Great job. All right. Next, true or false? Ernie has big eyes because Ernie is nocturnal and needs to see at night. True or false? Ernie has big eyes because he needs to see at night. Lucia says true. Denise says true. Brody true. Sarah true. Amanda true. Lucy true. Mary true. Kimberly true. Nishi true. Anonymous attendee says true. Ute says true. Brody says true. Dan says true. Madeline says true. Phoenix says true. Oh my gosh. You all are so smart. Okay, yes. Ernie has big eyes because Ernie is nocturnal. Ernie hunts and lives primarily as awake at night. Now, in comparison, if we had eyes as large as Ernie, our eyes would be the size of grapefruits, okay, proportional to Ernie's head. So we would have eyes as large as grapefruits because bigger eyes means that we can see more things. Alrighty. Next one. We might get a little bit harder here. True or false? These things up here at the top of Ernie, here and here, these things are Ernie's ears. True or false? Okay. Nishi says false. Dan says false. Kimberly says true. Juna says true. Ellie says true. Madeline says false. True or false? These are Ernie's ears. What do we think? Matthew says true. Ute says true. This is a tricky one, friends. It turns out these are not Ernie's ears. It's false. Ernie's ears are here and here. And unlike we humans who have, can't even see because my hair's so long. Unlike humans, so we have an ear here and an ear here. It's on the same place on either side of my head. Ernie here has what we call asymmetrical ears. So I have symmetrical ears. There, one ear is here, one ear is here. It's on the same plane here. It's on the same area, same side. Excuse me, same location on each side. Ernie has asymmetrical ears. Okay, and this is intentional. So Ernie may have an ear up here, up higher on the head, and then an ear farther down here. And that's because with asymmetrical ears, Ernie can use his hearing as like a homing beacon and figure out where creatures are. It's a better setup for a hunter. So Ernie's more equipped to catch prey than we are. Okay, it's like a tracking system with his asymmetrical ears. Okay, let's think. All right, true or false? Ernie weighs more than 10 pounds. True or false? Ernie weighs more than 10 pounds. More than 10 pounds. Kimberly says true. Amanda says true. Cyrus says true. Lucia says false. Denise says false. Mary says true. Anonymous attendee, so mysterious, says false. Ute says false. Dan says true. Marcel says true. Phoenix says false. Michelle says false. Sarah says false and true. Ellie says false. Juna says false. Allison says false. Andreas says true. Madeline says false. Okay, Brody says, pretty sure true for adult, but false for owlet. It's a small owl. Ava says false. Rebecca says false. Matthew says false. Okay. This one might blow your mind, folks. Some of you, at least. Ernie here probably weighs no more than 3 pounds. Yeah. Ernie's just one fluffy monster. So let's see if I can get a good visual here. So here's my finger, and I'm going to show you how fluffy he is. My finger's still going in. That's how much fluff he is. Okay, from like my middle knuckle to the end of my finger. That's how much fluff Ernie is. He's mostly feathers. If we were to like take some shears and give Ernie a haircut here, he would be just like the smallest, skinniest little bird you've ever seen. He's not that big at all. In fact, I want to show you. Oh, let's see. Oh, never mind. Okay. Alrighty. So y'all have come up with some great answers and some great curious responses. I'm so proud of you. But we are coming up on that amount of time. It's been about 30 minutes, and I don't want to keep you for too long. So I did want to say a few more things about our owl friends. Pretty cool. So owls are excellent hunters because they have what we call silent wings. So a typical bird, when it swoops in, is going to cut through the wind, and that's going to make a swoosh sound. Ernie here has fluffy wings, so fluffy that when he flies, silent wings. You can't even hear him. That's why Ernie's a very effective hunter. Ernie's a great horned owl. You can find them from the tip of North America to the tip of South America. Okay, they're almost everywhere. And that's because they're such prolific, successful hunters, because they sneak up on their prey. Their prey never see them coming. They're very successful. Their babies, the owlets as we called them, look super hilarious because they're really nothing but downy feathers. So we have adult like Ernie here. See the resemblance? Okay, and then we have the owlet. This is like a teenager. It's going through the awkward stages, people. So this is a regular owl right here. And then this is an owlet. An owl that's just growing up, learn how to be in the world. All right, so they're really, really fluffy. And then I did want to show you another kind of owl, okay? Oh, sorry, Aaron. And that is, gotta get ready out of the path of danger. Okay, and that is, this is Bernie. That's Ernie, this is Bernie. Bernie is a barn owl, okay? And Bernie looks a little bit different. You can probably guess as to how barn owls got their names. Barn owls are one of the least endangered species in the world. That means barn owls have no problem surviving because they are literally everywhere. Barns. My neighbor went on vacation for 2 weeks to Asia. They come back from Asia, and there's a couple of barn owls living in their house. Barn owls are very cunning, smart creatures. Barn owls are a little bit smaller, and the call that they make, unlike Ernie, gray horned owls, Ernie and gray horned owls, they go, hoo, hoo, hoo. Whereas Bernie here, the barn owl, makes something far more chilling. Bernie gives something like it's like from a horror movie. It's crazy. Look up a barn owl after this. Alrighty, since we are coming up on our time, I did want to leave room for some questions, little Q&A. So if y'all have any last questions about Ernie or Bernie, I'll do my best to answer them. And we'll leave like a few minutes for that. So if you have any questions, now's a good time. Okay, Emma says, about how long does it take to grow feathers? So feathers are kind of like hair, and that they grow out, and then well, I guess they're not like hair in the sense that an owl and birds will sort of shed their feathers after a while, and they'll grow new feathers. I'm not entirely sure how long it takes to grow feathers because there's different kinds of feathers. There are some really small ones. There are bigger ones, like on the wings, for instance. Because an owl's lifespan is not super long, I would guess it probably takes no greater than a month or two to fully grow a feather. Okay, Kimberly, is Bernie smaller than Ernie or bigger than Ernie? Barn owls, Bernie is a little bigger than Ernie, our gray horned owl. Okay, Juna says, how many eggs do they usually lay? So with gray horned owls, we had some at another park I used to work at, Natural Bridges, and it laid about 3 eggs. So usually the clutch, the amount of eggs that they lay, is going to be no greater than 4 or 5. Allison says, are there any owls that are active during the day? Yeah, not all owls are going to necessarily be nocturnal. In fact, they found records of barn owls in some places like England being active during the day. So it kind of depends on where the owls live, because when's the food going to be moving around? When are they going to find food? Okay, Brody says, how do nocturnal eyes work different than ours to see in the dark? So just by having bigger eyes, they're able to see more because essentially the pupil, let's see if you can see it on me, the black part in the center of my eye acts like an opening. And the bigger that opening gets, the more light can be let in. So Ernie here, I'll bring back Ernie. Ernie has huge pupils, okay, compared to the rest of his body. And he can see quite a lot because that opening is so large. So just by having bigger eyes, they can let in more light. Let's see. Okay, Alice says, how long does it take for an owlet to grow up? How long do they stay as chicks? I am pretty sure They start leaving their mother around a year, but they'll hang out near the mother for about like 6 months or so. Okay, what is their typical lifespan? I want to say around 5 to 10 years. Anonymous says, are some owls omnivores? Omnivores meaning, do they eat vegetables and meat, or plants and meat? No, all owls only eat meat. They're all carnivores. Great question. Okay, great question. This is a perfect ending. Ellie says, if the things on top of Ernie's head are not ears, what are they? So as I said, Ernie's a great horned owl. And these are the things that give the great horned owl its name. They look like horns, right? But they're not its ears. Scientists speculate. They don't know the reason for this. Some say it's like a mating thing. So a female will see a male with like cool shaped horns, and it's like, that's the owl for me. Ernie was really successful in that realm. But also some people think they almost use these as like sort of antenna, as someone pointed out, to pick up different sounds and direct it to its ears, to sort of like a kind of like a satellite dish or something, to pick up sound and direct it towards its ears. Great questions, everyone. So if you stayed for the majority of the program, it looks like a lot of you did, then I'll be emailing you your digital stamp today, Friday, or tomorrow, Saturday. I promise, at the very latest, Saturday. But I just want to thank you so much for joining us. Before we end, I want to do the classic Junior Ranger pledge. So what I'm going to need you to do is raise your left hand. Okay? And I need you to grab your tongue with your right hand. And then you'll say, I state your name, Alec, promise to treat the earth, and all living things, with care and respect. With care and respect. Be careful of what I do. Be careful of what I do. And how it affects others. And learn about the importance of nature and our heritage. Of nature and our heritage. Congratulations, Junior Rangers. Thank you for staying with me today. And in a couple weeks, we'll be doing a program on snakes. And in 4 weeks, we'll be doing a program for which this place is named, Rancho. So I just want to thank so much for joining us. And I hope you have a wonderful day.